What is up, movie viewers? Dena Views and Reviews here, asking, what you watching? Well, today I am watching The 6888. Now, this movie stars Ebony, Obsidian, Kerry Washington, Donna Biscoe, Baajdja-Lynn Odums, Shanice Shantay, Sarah Jeffery, Milauna Jackson, Kylie Jefferson, Greg Sullkin, and Susan Sarandon. It is written by Kevin Highmill and Tyler Perry, directed by Tyler Perry, produced by Tyler Perry, Nicole Avant, Angie Bones, Andrew Bonner, Carlotta Espinoza, Peter Guber, Greg Manis, Andy Norman, Kerry Selick, Tony L. Strickland, Kerry Washington, and Carol Wurst. The 6888. Now, this film is based and inspired by a true story. It is yet another group of unsung Black American heroes. Heroes that are very necessary to be unearthed, to be publicized and make known. Not only is this information beneficial and essential for future Black youth to know, it is also a part of history. American history. 6888 are a part of actual American history and American military history. Often America's historical Black achievements, accomplishments, and contributions are neglected or overlooked due to, as much as we like to deny nowadays, but America is still very much a clandestine anti-Black society. Now, the 6,888th Central Postal Directory Battalion, nicknamed the 6888, was an all-Black female battalion, or in the case as this movie indicated, a predominantly Black battalion of the United States Women's Army Corps. As we know, mixed race or ambiguous women were classified oftentimes as Black, much as it is today, especially if they cannot pass for white. Subsequent to America's white supremacist notion that one drop of Black blood deems a person to be Black or having to belong to the Black race of people here in America. That's still kind of funny to me, and it still have you wondering, what does one drop of white blood do? What does that classify you as? But this battalion was headed by one Major Charity Adams and was made up of 855 beautifully melanated Black women from the United States. Now, I looked over some of the pictures of the actual Black women who were in this corps, and all I saw was a sea of beautifully exquisite skin tone. And I must say, all of the actresses in this film were absolutely beautiful. They were stunning as well. The film opens and follows the story of Lena Darracott, who actually was a member of the 6888 Battalion. However, this film adaptation does exaggerate a little. It differs from the actual character from which this story was inspired. Lena is in high school at the opening of this film, and she appears to be in a romantic relationship with a white character by the name of Abram David. Now, the movie emphasized that Abram is of the Jewish faith and is eventually shipped out to fight in World War II. In the film, he promises Lena he would write to her and asks that she wait for him to return. Unfortunately, Lena never receives a letter from him and is devastated to later learn that he was killed in his first mission. Lena herself decides to join the Army Corps, even though her mother really wanted her to attend the university. She just didn't have the funds. And besides that, Lena confesses she wanted to join the Army and, quote, fight Hitler. Now, that part was funny. It just seemed to be a way for her to better deal with the loss of her loved one at that time. It was odd to me to hear her say that, especially because of the circumstances and the time in which she lived, because at the time of this war, where Black soldiers were sent to fight to free Jewish people from Hitler, they themselves were being persecuted also here in America. They themselves would have to come back home to an anti-Black America and fight against some of the very people who sent them to free others. Now, we oftentimes forget, even as soldiers, that these people had to deal with segregation within the military. They had to deal with it at home as well as abroad. And in America, black soldiers and civilians were still dealing with some of the worst discrimination, anti-black sentiments, and fighting themselves just to obtain basic human rights and equality in America. So I find it ironic that many would have the courage to even desire to fight or even join such a biased regime. But they did, and they went to battle, incidentally having to fight a war on two fronts. Literally, you was fighting at home and you had to fight abroad. As much as we would like to pretend and ignore America's history of dehumanizing, discriminating, and ill treatment of the descendants of slaves, it's just a part of America history, and to ignore and omit it would be like breathing air and ignoring or denying that your lungs are actually doing all of the work. So not only did these young women have to battle racism, they also had to deal with the sexism within the military. In February of 1945, the 6888 Battalion arrived in Birmingham, England. Once again, when they arrived, they found the same circumstances as in America. The facilities were segregated by race and gender, and they were given substandard quarters in which to live. The women faced hostility, and even many people questioned their character as well as their ability to do the assignment. They were housed in the old King Edward School, which was very dilapidated. It was a very cold winter, and this building was unheated. It was very unkept, rat infested, dimly lit. It was just a dump. Even the windows were said to be blackened out to prevent light from showing during the nighttime air raids. In the midst of all of this, the battalion did their very best. They did their best to clean it up and repair it and make it functional. And it was functional as possible under the circumstances to try and fit their needs. The women had to run their own mess hall. They experienced food rationing, including daily portions of Spam. They ran their own hair salon, a refreshment bar, as well as a recreational facility, all while being faced with the task of processing a 2-year backlog of undelivered mail that came from several warehouses. These warehouses were stacked to the ceiling with letters, care packages, and correspondence that had piled up. Now, all of this they were doing while they had to deal with challenges that came with being in the midst of a war. They had to face prejudiced officers, racist chaplains, and inspectors who purposely tried to make it difficult for them to complete their task. Unit members, however, were very organized, and they were organized into 3 separate 8-hour shifts, and they continuously worked around the clock 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. This battalion was able to process on an average about 65,000 pieces of mail per 8-hour shift, essentially linking service members to their loved ones back home. And they more than succeeded in their mission because they were able to clear the 6-month backlog of mail in 3 months, achieving unprecedented success and efficiency, and solving as well as resolving the military's postal problem. The 6888 was the only all-black, all-female battalion to serve overseas during World War II, and they were responsible for clearing out this overwhelming backlog of mail, making sure that the American troops received their letters from home, and it did indeed boost their morale. I gave this movie 3 Tyler Perry did a wonderful job of directing this film. I thought Kerry Washington was good too, and I loved the character Johnny May, and she had some beautiful skin. But the different sets, the attire, even the accent, they just kind of sort of made you feel just for a moment that you had a peek inside of their lives during that time. Now, I did, however, ponder the main character of the story, Lena Derricott, because that storyline was so prominent to me in the movie. I almost felt at moments that it overwhelmed or overshadowed the purpose of the movie just a bit. And it just seemed more like a script that Tyler would write to me. And I did do a little research, and I found that Lena Derricott's personal life was exaggerated in this movie. As is common in most movies and films, it is done to make a film more interesting to viewers. Lena was shown with a broken heart over the death of this young man that she loved and loved. But in actuality, the character from which they drew this inspiration was already married to a Hugh Bell, who was a drill sergeant. And they were already married before she was even deployed overseas. In reality, Lena did not meet Major Adams until after she was deployed to Europe, which followed her duration as a nurse in Arizona when released. The 688 Battalion has received the Meritorious Unit Commendation in February of 2019, the Army's only award for exemplary performance. And President Joe Biden in 2022 signed the 688 U.S. Congressional Gold Medal Act of 2021 into law. The nation's gratitude for the 688th Battalion and the thousands of Black American women who served in the Army during World War II. It is indeed a wonderful way to acknowledge these Black women and make certain that their service to America will not be omitted or forgotten. Now, the 688 is rated PG-13 and is currently streaming on Netflix. If you have not already, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave me your comments on what you thought of this movie. And I invite you to join me weekly for another review or movie recommendation. And I want you to remember, it's my view. Now, what you watching?